Good afternoon. Welcome to a special listening session presented by the Greater Kansas City Chamber of Commerce and the Urban Neighborhood Initiative, focused on understanding the Black experience in Greater Kansas City. I'm Whitney Bartelli. I'm the president of Bank Midwest, and I'm very honored to represent Bank Midwest this afternoon as we sponsor today's listening session. You know, this has been a very powerful and motivating series of opportunities to hear from Black Kansas Cityans, letting them speak freely about their experiences. We've heard from business owners, community leaders, educators, lawmakers, students, and parents. In fact, in one of our prior sessions, we first heard the voice of a young man who's back with us again today, Mr. Jarry Brooks from Grandview High School. Jarry has shared with us how excited he was to participate in that session and shared that his friends would like to speak their truths as well. And the chamber listened, and they have assembled a very impressive group of young adults and teens who are going to be representing the youth, the Black youth of Kansas City today. I'm a mother of 3 daughters. They range in age from 10 to 25, so I'm particularly interested in hearing from the panelists today. As a parent and a leader in our community, I want to make Kansas City a better place. I want to make our country a better place. But the hard truth of the matter is that we cannot continue to kick the can down the road and expect there to be real change. That's why I'm confident that youth like my daughters and youth that have the strength and the conviction of today's panelists are going to be the real catalyst for change. We absolutely have to be a part of that change, but I'm confident they're going to help us lead the way. So we need to listen to this next generation, and we need to take action. And we're very fortunate to have an opportunity to learn from Generation Z this afternoon. Had an opportunity to meet with these folks briefly yesterday, and I know you're really going to enjoy hearing from them shortly. And here to moderate that conversation is a young woman whose professional calling is very focused on the future of Kansas City. She's a 2018 graduate of Central Methodist University, and she's currently enrolled in the Block Professional MBA program at UMKC. She is the co-founder of Black Excellence KC, an organization that's dedicated to moving Kansas City forward for minorities. She's also the co-founder of the Roundtable, which seeks to bring community conversations around difficult topics. Please join me in welcoming Kiona Sinks. Kiona.
Thank you, Whitney, for that introduction, and I'm super excited to be here today on behalf of the Greater Kansas City Chamber of Commerce and the Urban Neighborhood Initiative. Thank you so much for joining today's conversation. Again, my name is Kiona Sinks, and I'm pleased to be here today moderating the latest listening session, Voices of Black Youth. Today, we have a group of young men and women who are high school students, college students, young members of our current workforce and our future workforce. They represent different backgrounds, but all share lived experiences that contribute to being Black here in America and here in Kansas City. We all spoke with them, and they equally distributed some amazing things and shared their stories with me, and I'm super excited today to be able to share just that with you. Before I welcome our panel today and give you an introduction, I want to remind you that their experiences are not a contribution to all Black Kansas Cityans as youth here in our city. So today, let's welcome not only our future generation, Black excellence, the future of Kansas City, and where we are today. I now introduce to you a senior at Grandview High School, Jarry Brooks. He was one of our future panelists here on this program, and he's back with us today. Hi, Jarry. Please welcome Andrea Brown, a recent graduate of Ruskin High School. She'll be attending Mizzou this fall. Super excited to have you. Julian Collier, a sophomore from Piper High School in KCK. She has future endeavors to do so many great things here in Kansas City, and I can't wait for her to share her experiences with you today. Next, we have Mark Hood, who is a recent graduate of Allen Village High School and a soon-to-be Mizzou freshman this fall during the school year. Hi, Mark. Next, we have Lauren Logan, a student and a recent graduate at UMKC here in Kansas City, and also was an intern here at the Chamber with strategic partnerships. And last, but certainly not least, of the two that are left is Sophia Maxwell, a current student at Loyola University and a graduate of University Academy. And attending with us also in conjunction to today's panel is Ree Watson-Miller, a May graduate of Sumter Academy who will be attending the University of KU this fall. And please, ladies and gentlemen, welcome me and welcoming the future of Black Kansas City here with me today, a panel that I'm super excited to open up today's discussion. And I move into today's conversation and opening it up with so many different things that are happening in light of our country. And we know that the future, current and present workforce is a true reflection in where we want to steer not only Kansas City, but our nation. And so my first question for the panelists today that I want to be able to open it up and allow them to share their experiences, we'll start off here today with everyone quickly just to open it up. So there are so many reasons, you all, as we've kind of talked about being Black in America, being Black in the spaces that you guys occupy, and being Black in excellence. That is something that we're proud of, but yet there are so many challenges that we face every single day in the spaces in which we live. So opening this conversation up, I would like to ask each of you all have a certain confidence in where you are in your contributions. What does it mean today to be Black, to be young, and to be entering the world with all the social unrest that we currently see? And I'll start with Andrea.
Hello, everyone. So start to answer your question, how I feel being Black in America. I'm very proud to be Black. I'm very proud of knowing where I came from and who came before me to fight for me to get to the places that I am here, that I am today. Also, sometimes being Black is very tiring. Having to know that you may be re-traumatized with something else in the media, that another Black man was killed or whatever it could be, it's tiring. But also knowing that there are still victories in being Black, but there's also a lot of trauma that we have to unpack and things we have to fight for.
Absolutely. Next, Julian.
Hi, I think that being Black in America is a struggle, but it is also a prize. It's a struggle in the sense that being a Black woman in America and even being a Black man, but a little bit worse, is I feel like I am the most unprotected just because of the way that people see me and already having like a prejudice towards me and prejudging me before even really getting to know me. But it's also a prize because I feel like I am beautiful because I'm Black. And also I know that people of all races and cultures enjoy the Black culture. So it's a prize also.
Absolutely. Mark?
Hey everybody, I think being Black means, or I know being Black means, continue to be a survivor, and that's what we are, and we've done so for so long through different forms of oppression, whether it's the justice system or whether it's education or drugs. We continue to survive, and we find a way to succeed and be successful.
Absolutely. Lauren?
Hi, how I feel to be Black in America, I feel that I have to be extremely diligent because a lot of eyes are continuously on us in every space, whether it be professional or just walking down the street. And it can be, like someone mentioned, kind of tiring. It can be kind of exhausting knowing that I have to save face or I need to act a certain way to be accepted, but proud because I know that this system was not meant for us to succeed. So knowing that, you know, I see my brothers and sisters still succeeding and excelling, I'm proud to be Black.
Absolutely. Sophia?
Yes, following that, being Black in America, to me, I feel it's inspiring because a lot of different races and cultures want to be you, but then it's also, of course, tiring because they don't want to respect you. So it's a teeter-totter, but I'm proud to be Black in America, and I love being Black.
Ree?
So I think being Black in America is a treasure. I say that because we are unique in our own ways, and we bring so much to the plate when it comes to being successful and just being different in the world. And kind of like everyone has said, we are different. We uphold such a most have said, like, you know, we are the most hated, but we are also the most loved.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Jarry, certainly last but not least.
Like everyone said, there are pros and cons to being Black, but me personally, I look at the pros more so than the cons. I absolutely love being Black. Yeah, sometimes it sucks, you know, to be stereotyped when people see me, but I honestly embrace that. You know, I let my light shine, you know, I let my talent show, and it just feels so good to open people's eyes and stuff. So I feel like there are a lot of perks to being Black as well, you know. So I feel like, you know, I have to look at those more so than the cons. So yeah, I love being Black.
Yeah, and what I heard you all sharing as you went around the horn and really talked about, you know, your reflections as it relates to being Black, the color of your skin, how our culture is so much of a presence, it's a joy. Being Black excellence is a thing that we all take pride in, including myself, as we navigate a lot of different experiences, but yet it is so challenging. As Sophia mentioned, it's a teeter-totter and you're constantly up and down. And so in going and sharing, you know, and knowing the common denominator of the complications that we have unconsciously and living, and you guys are experiencing during this age and having your future ahead of you, what are some of the balances that you all carry with knowing that this is my challenges and this is who I am, but also being able to still get up every single day in a world that might not serve your advantages to thrive? And so this question is structured for Andrea, Sophia, and Lauren.
I'm gonna go ahead and go. Really, you just have to. You just have to. We have ancestors that came before us who just had to do it. We've seen their struggle, we've seen their fight. So it's like, who am I to give up, knowing what they went through? Who am I to just leave it all, even though they fought so hard for me? Having like strong Black parents who instill that in you and telling you you have to work 2 times as hard, 10 times as hard, really, if you want to get half of what you see white people get, you know. So it's just a balance. Like, it's something that I've always known I've had to do. So there's never really a time where there are times where I feel like I want to give up, knowing, like, seeing John Lewis, who just recently passed, he died fighting for something that he started off fighting for, the same thing. So it makes me feel like, will I ever see a change? Like, but just to know, like, if there is a small chance that it will be changed, I want to be a part of that change. I want to know that I was a part of fighting for that change.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Sophia?
I would say a balance. I would use a balance as I would educate those younger than me. So by educating those younger and older than me, then that creates my hope for the future, because instilling in them that, oh, the system isn't built for you, oh, everyone is against you, that's gonna give them that mindset that they're always gonna be behind. But if we start instilling in them that they can be as equal as they want to be from jump, then they'll have a different mindset to succeed and to go further. So I use that as my way of advocating and implement and just making me see hope. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do by educating those, so we can move forward as a community.
Thank you for sharing that, Sophia. That was really good. Lauren.
Yes, to piggyback off of what Sophia said, education I feel like is extremely important. For me, during this time, I have had to limit the information that I receive off of social media and just take that time to educate myself and educate people that I interact with on a daily basis. Because if I interact with racism or I encounter an obstacle, I want to be able to speak from knowledge and facts so that I can really try to get my point across. It's up to them to receive it, but I feel like education is really important and not just taking news from anywhere.
Yeah, thank you for that. And, you know, you guys have all shared in preparation for today a lot of stories around, you know, the anecdotes that unfortunately we all hear, you know, when we are arrived at particular places that we've worked hard equally, just as our white counterparts. And so, Ree, you had a similar experience as you talked about, you know, it's not a congratulations, but it's a but or a however. And Julian, you as well with your dance studio and all the things that you're doing. Would you both, starting with Ree and then going to Julian, kind of talk about why is that such, and how does that make you feel in the process that your success and the continuation of where we march and where we shoot for, right, is success and wanting to be the best you, but also there is still a question mark at the end of those achievements that we work so hard to be?
So I am in the marketing field, meaning that it's one of the least diverse fields. So I'm in a program called the Brand Lab that is trying to diversify the marketing field. And I've been with them for the last 3 years. And one of the programs that I was with was through a corporate marketing agency, and it was a company that was just white people, and I was the only Black one besides the other girl that I was there with. And we both kind of felt the same way as far as it feeling like we were lonely and had no one, you know, really to turn to except for each other. But I personally had an experience where the floor that I was on, I was in a corner by myself, and I was next to a window. So I feel like you say, like the marketing world says they want to, you know, diversify, but they're constantly putting in, you know, little hints of still segregation. I don't know if that's how it was supposed to be taken, but that's how I took it, you know, at the time. But then I thought about it, and I talked to my grandmother about it, and I was like, maybe it was just one of those situations where that was the only seat they had left. And I should have spoken up for myself at that time, but I didn't. Like I said, it didn't really, you know, strike me until after the fact that it happened. So that was my experience. I learned a lot from it, and yeah.
Thank you for sharing that, Julian.
Hi, I'm from Kansas City, Kansas, and I have done dance like since I was little. And for me, the most recent thing for me, like learning about myself and how kind of people have reacted, was when I went to a predominantly white studio in Lenexa, Kansas. And I kind of got questions from people like, how did you get there? Why are you there? You know, things like that. And I think sometimes people just have to be careful with how they ask questions, because it can come off as offensive, even though they may be intending it to be a compliment. Sometimes things that are offensive, because why not? Why do you see that I'm not worthy of going to a studio that is great? Or why do you think that there's some type of reasoning behind it besides me just wanting to be a better dancer, you know? And also with that, I think that we should try to put quality places in inner cities, not just where I have to drive to Lenexa for quality dance education. But I should be able to be in my hometown, my city, and get that same quality.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. I heard saw a lot of noddings and kind of similar experiences, as we all have so many of those to share, about equal distribution and how our success should be accepted, but how our white counterparts should be very careful in how they compliment us when we have arrived and we have that seat at the table. And Mark, I want to pivot to you and back to Andrea and Jarry, because you all are so passionate about the past as it relates to the future and making our spaces better. And Mark, starting with you, around policy change and just some things that you've been able to see as it relates to the Black Lives Matter movement, We talk about, you know, redlining. I know we, in our prep session, those were things that were coming up, but we talk about opportunities so much, but yet there's still so much to be done. So my question to you, and Jarry and Lauren, are what are some things, or what are your thoughts around the current policies and as it relates to leaders in our community and what they should be thinking through to make the future better for you here in Kansas City?
Well, I think we should start with where we're headed right now, and especially with everything going on with COVID-19. I think we should be looking toward, as everybody else has mentioned, better education for Black students, especially in the inner city. I think we should think about how do they get access to better and reliable internet and better electronics as they go into the next school year, because we honestly don't know how it's going to look. And I think it's up to our leaders, I think it's up to KC to be able to partner with local, I don't know, internet companies and providers and things like that, so we can get those kids the kind of resources that they need to be able to have education. Because honestly, our education is kind of crap right now, and so we don't want it to be any less crap than it already is. So we want to try to get them, and we want to try to be able to keep them motivated as well. Because for me, that it's a huge struggle to motivate myself as a Black student. And I think that being at home just made it a lot worse, especially when COVID had started early on. I realized that I'd rather be in school than be at home doing my work because I had no motivation. And so that's something that we should think about going on and moving forward.
Yeah, thank you for that. You know, and a lot of things are happening right now as it relates to education and our superintendents across our city. And then Jarry, in following Mark with those kind of similar remarks, what would you say or add to that about just current leaders in our city and still the continuation of now working towards change for the betterment of just you all that are on the call today?
Honestly, I feel like opportunity is something that needs to be given to all schools. I feel like bigger schools that have a name for themselves have the greatest opportunities brought forth to them. And there are smaller schools or even mid-sized schools like mine that, you know, we don't really get a lot of opportunities, you know, to really be who we want to be. You know, we have to go and look elsewhere to find opportunities. We can't stay at our own school or in our own hometown and, you know, hopefully be granted the same opportunities that other schools are given. And I feel like that really hurts us. It really hurts students that have very strong potential. You know, it causes them to settle for less because they weren't given the opportunities that they should have gotten to be great. And I find myself in a position where I know I have potential and I feel like I have to look elsewhere to get the opportunities that I need. I feel like I shouldn't have to do that right now. You know, other schools have it easy. They have opportunities brought to them. So I feel like, you know, our leaders need to, you know, find a way to scatter around opportunities to small, medium, and large schools, all schools. So yeah, that's what I feel like our leaders need to be doing right now.
Yeah, that's really good. And we'll talk about that as it relates to workforce towards the end. But Lauren, we talked about, and I know you're passionate about, similar to what I've said, you know, ultimately where we see ourselves is where we thrive, right? So we want an equal representation in workforce and seeing other women of color and Black men in general in leadership positions where we aspire to be. Can you talk about that now with, you know, you're very passionate about, hey, you know, if I want this opportunity, I would love to that look like me in those roles. Speak to that when it's not done such in a way that is authentic and true to be accepting and to create that space for someone like you.
Yes, very well said. Representation matters. It's like a broken record, but we keep saying it over and over because it matters. You're not going to be motivated for a role if you never see someone like you in that role. And I feel like hiring Black is something that really is going to help change. I know when I was younger, I did have a lot of Black teachers, a lot of Black male teachers, to just kind of just have that, to be relatable, to understand our emotions, to understand experiences, to be there to understand us versus kind of just play it off or to dismiss it. So kind of just what Jarry was speaking about of opportunities, they are far and few in between. And I feel like if you hire Black those people can bring in the ideas. They can teach you how to market to Black people. They can put those opportunities in the right places, but you have to hire the right people. So I feel like hiring Black is really a good step.
Thank you for that. I heard a lot of common similarities to what you all have shared. And the next question is for Sophia, Mark, and Ree. Over the last couple of weeks, since the catalyst of George Floyd's death, we've seen a numerous of organizations, leaders across not just Kansas City, but in other areas regionally, make these public statements that they stand with Black Lives and Black Lives Matter as the movement, and then wanting to make these necessary changes in policy, in HR, and all of those things, retentions and strategies. And so, starting with you, Sophia, I know that marketing and at Loyola, you're using those skill sets right now and gearing up for that. So, what would you say to, or how do you feel rather about moving PR to practice and having implementation of what people are saying and actually doing it?
I feel good about them moving everything. A lot of companies are moving to PR to practice because now being interning with Nicole has really opened, with Connection Coach KC has really opened it up my eyes a bit more. So it's like actually seeing companies move into the practice, because a lot of them are just doing PR. And when George Floyd was first murdered, it was a lot of just, oh, let's educate everyone, let's just get the information out there, let Black people know that we stand with them. When a lot of these companies were racist companies to begin with. So it's like you're only doing it for the money. You're not, but it's a bit, I don't want to say refreshing, but it's good to know that a lot of companies are moving towards practicing that, and they're actually working forward to changing policies and changing their board, what Lauren was saying, hiring those Black faces that we want to see. So we need to just continue to hire Black and continue to get into practice, because there's a lot of overlooked talent in the Black community that needs to be shared.
Absolutely. Cherry picking from intentional seeking is what I hear you referring to. Mark, what are your thoughts around just that and what Sophia has contributed?
I agree with Sophia 100%. And I just hope that businesses and companies continue to do that and continue to trend that way, and they're not just doing it for the time being, because you know how people can be. And I also think that I think that we as a community, we need to be able to sell our people better, I guess you could say. And we need to teach our own Blacks, we need to teach our Black students how to sell themselves to people, and how to recognize when there is a job right in front of them, or where there's an internship right in front of their face. Because I've seen multiple times on career-based field trips or career circles where students are, students of peers of mine, they don't understand that there's an internship right in front of your face. It's like $15 an hour right in front of your face. And who knows, it could also lead to your passion and what you might want to do as a career, or it may not. And we need to be able to recognize that, whether it's how you act, it's how you talk, and asking the right questions. And I think all of those things are important.
Yeah, thank you for that. Ree?
I agree with both Sophia and Mark on what they've said currently. I also feel that, kind of like Mark said, what they're implementing shouldn't just be for a season. It should be for the long run, and that it shouldn't just stay at the level that it is. It should continue going up. So what they're doing now, take it to the next level and just keep going, And then as far as businesses as a whole, I feel like if this is something that they've been implementing, then it shouldn't have just started after the George Floyd killing. It should have been before, if this is how you felt. And also with Black businesses, we need to support them more, because as you can see, when everything happened, when the riots happened, those are the first businesses that were hurt. And besides, of course, Target and Walmart, which are big corporations that can easily get fixed back up. But our Black businesses, small businesses at that, they need more help. So I think implementing that, but also implementing the fact that we need to help these Black businesses, I think those are very important as well.
Thank you for that. To Jarry, Julian, and back to you, Lauren, about this as well, and Andrea, and starting with you, Andrea, first with this question is currently you all are the future as we move forward Kansas City over the next 6 months to a year, and really trying to figure out the power of community implementation around diversity and making equity a thing. And so, Andrea, starting with you, what would you like to see, or what would keep you here in Kansas City? You know, there's a lot of people that will go back and watch this and that are watching now. And so when we think of Kansas City being home and wanting to retain and keep you here, what does that look like for you? Or what are your thoughts around that?
What I would like to see to like sort of keep me here, or one, I would want to stay because I want to be that person to become the leader that I'm seeking for. I want to be able to put those changes in lower class Black neighborhoods, seeking out to help education. Like, I went to Ruskin High School and I wasn't really a fan of the education there and like policies and how they treated us. So I want to be able to point out those sort of things to help change, because when I come back, or when I'm done with school, I want to start there. I want to start back at home. So that's the thing that's really keeping me here, not necessarily what I want to see other people do, but knowing what I know I can do and what type of ideas I have from my community. That's sort of what's keeping me here, what change I want to see. I also want to see more, like you said, diversity in what Black people we are helping, because it's so easy to like call on students like us who are in close proximity to whiteness in regards to the types of schools that we go to and type of opportunities that we have. But I want to see more, like a more diverse group of Black people who are speaking. It doesn't always have to be those who went to top D1 schools like Missoula, where I'm going, or KU. There are other people who can jumpstart these movements and talk about what they need that are in different positions than us, if that makes sense. So I just want to see a more variety in what Black people we are asking what they want to see, if that makes sense.
Yeah, thank you for that. And then going to you, Julian, with that same question, you know, a lot of people are still asking or may have comments and questions about, you know, why aren't there more people of color in education or any sector as it relates to retaining and keeping young Black professionals here in Kansas City, but still goes back to our foundational question is, what are they going to do in reverse and flipping and making us feel comfortable in being in those spaces? And so can you talk to those microaggressions or implicit bias that still occurs, you know, and you guys, unfortunately, are no stranger to that, and you're experiencing it here today.
Okay, well, I would just like to say that in my school district, something for us is kind of, we're becoming more diverse. And I think in the recent, like the killing of George Floyd and the protests and the Black Lives Matter movement, it's kind of been very eye-opening to see the people who stand with us as the Black kids of the district and the Black community of the district. And for me, something that I want to do to stay in Kansas is to go to law school and eventually come back and work with the school district, work closely with my superintendent, and look over policies and ways to make sure that everything is being done in a legal way, and also to make sure that every student, no matter white, Black, whatever, feels comfortable in our district and also feels like they are loved, appreciated, and protected. So for me, I think that it's just knowing that there may not be a change right now, but I can be the change. So that's it for me.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. Sophia, do you have anything to add?
I agree with what everyone was saying. I don't really have much to add. It's just, I think there just needs to be more representation in the communities. In a lot of Black communities, we have white representation, but we don't have people of color. It's always still a lot of gentrification. There's a lot of them coming in and trying to be like they are trying, but we feel more comfortable with seeing somebody who looks like me succeeding. It makes me want to succeed 10 times more. And that's all.
Yeah, thank you for that and you guys' contribution to this conversation. And Jarry, you know, you are the reason, you know, for using your voice and using your platform to collectively bring this conversation here today on behalf of the Urban Neighborhood Initiative and the Greater Kansas City Chamber. And so, you know, a lot of people are going to watch this and they're tuned in now. What are some last, you know, imparting, I guess, or just feelings with, you know, the social unrest and, you know, the removal of J.C. Nichols from our fountain on our plaza and just all these different things that Kansas City are really trying to move in a direction that we all feel accepted. What would you like for people to know and how you're feeling and what they should be doing?
There needs to be genuity. I think that's the right word, right? Yeah, I feel like people need to, and companies need to be genuine about it. And I feel like that's what's kind of hard. I think someone spoke earlier. It seems like they're all just doing it just to do it because they have to, and it might be short term. Hopefully, it's long term. Hopefully, it's forever. You know, and I feel like keeping people like me and everyone else in this call, in Kansas City, it just goes back to what I was saying earlier. You know, opportunities. You know, where are the opportunities at for all of us? Me personally, I mean, I've been looking for opportunities and there have been opportunities that have come my way, but they haven't really been here. And that's kind of crazy. And I literally have on a shirt from a corporation called People to People International that have given me an opportunity. They've given me a scholarship and I had to go to New Mexico to get that. New Mexico, that's not Kansas City, you know, that's far, you know, and I want to go into the business field, accounting, you know, and learning about money, how money works in businesses. And yeah, there are accountancy positions and, you know, that are being taught in school and everything everywhere. But it just seems like people like me are more comfortable with the opportunity that is given elsewhere. You know, like in Chicago, you know, my family is from Chicago. Literally, my sister is pretty much granted me an opportunity to be a part of her business out there. And like I said earlier, that's not Kansas City, you know, and the fact that pretty much everyone has to look elsewhere, you know, kind of makes it hard, you know, for the city to keep Black youth here or any youth for that matter. You know, we just have to be better at, you know, granting everyone the same opportunities.
Thank you for that, Jarry. Lauren, what do you have to add to that?
Basically what I feel like they can do better of is kind of what Andrea was saying earlier about they contact us students, but I need you to learn to reach out to people who kind of make you uncomfortable, people who you think don't fit the picture perfect token Black person on your team. I just think it's very important to really make real changes. J.C. Nichols, you know, changing street signs, you know, painting a street, that doesn't change systematic racism. That doesn't change the fact that, you know, we don't feel safe in any type of space. And I just really feel that I just want to see real change. I want to, like he was saying, to be genuine, to make real change. I've noticed, like, even though I recently graduated, I'm like, this work should have been done when I was in middle school, because I'm even though I might look years ahead to somebody, I feel like I'm years behind. There's so many tools that we've missed out on, whether it be how to handle yourself in an interview, how to dress for an interview, you know, fairs and college fairs, job fairs. It's so isolated. It's like in one circle of the city, and you know, we have to get it out to the spaces that they don't feel comfortable going to. So.
Yeah, thank you for that. And Mark, I would add you in this before we kind of wrap up towards the end here, just your remaining thoughts and what would you say to people who maybe just don't know where to start, you know, whether that be business leaders, right? We would think they would have some type of foundational knowledge in where or email should go or where text should go for anything. But what would you say for people who, you know, are not sure, they don't know, or I don't have anything to offer, or what's the easiest thing they could do today, right now?
Well, first of all, everybody has something to offer. And I think that, I don't know, I think that you should just tell us what you have, or not us specifically, but try to get what you're servicing out to everybody. And you need to figure out how it can fit into the gap that there is between the Black and the white people. And then I also think that you can't be afraid to speak incorrectly, because it's just going to happen. It's just natural. And so you have to be ready to hear the response that you're going to get, because you're going to say something wrong, and you're going to probably, get some smart remarks back from people all over. But I think that's just a part of changing and adapting, and that's a part of learning. And if you're not ready for that, then you're not ready for change.
Thank you so much for that. And Julian, just lastly, reversing the question that I asked you earlier, as you talked about your experience in the dance studio and not being so surprised at when we have arrived and making spaces for you all, how can people and leaders in every sector change their language, as talking to Mark, and as he has already said, we're not perfect, we're going to make mistakes, and that's a part of life, and we know that, and we're going to grow. But what can people do to reverse that, instead of saying, oh, however, congratulations, but only if, or, I don't see color, and those things that kind of degrade us in the process, and maybe they're not familiar with that. But what would you like to hear as a youth that's going to partake in our current workforce and our future workforce?
Okay, I'd like to hear things, not so much on the conversation of how did you get there or why, but focusing more on how proud they are. Saying things like, I'm proud of you. I think all kids, not just Black kids, all kids like to hear, I'm proud of you. That's something that everyone wants to hear. And I think that not just with the way that people say things to you, but I think people think that it's only important to have these conversations. But you also need to do something to drive it and make sure that change actually happens. Like recently, in my school district, our wonderful superintendent, Dr. Jessica Dane, she took time to have a Zoom meeting with our Black students. Instead of just sending a nice little email back like, oh, okay, we'll figure it out, all right, thanks. She took time to have a conversation with us. We made lists of things that we want to do and continue to do in our district. And for me, that felt like I was heard. I felt like my voice was heard. It was more than just, oh, I'm doing this because it's my job. No, she did it because she cared. And I think that more people had that mindset, and more white people had that mindset, things like this would not be so hard. These would no longer be tough conversations. They would just be conversations that people are having. But now they're considered tough conversations and things that people kind of shy away from, because I think multiple white people just don't know how. They don't really know. So I think just to be genuine is the best thing to do.
Thank you so much for that. Andrea, this question goes to you. Do you have any feedback on how we recruit Black teachers to Kansas City, in conjunction to Rhea as well, for you? And if you were being recruited from any company, what would you like to see? What opportunities do you think we need to have right now in schools to keep us here and to reach out to other communities? I'll start with Andrea.
Honestly, really the first thing that came up when people often ask, how can we get more Black teachers in these spaces? I think give up your space. We always say, they always ask, how can they get into this space while still maintaining that spot that could be given up to the next person. And I think also reaching out, telling these Black kids that you are teaching, give them the opportunity and let them know that you could be this teacher that you're seeking for, motivate them. Even then, it's just really just giving up your spot and knowing that this could be, somebody else could hold your spot, and it could be way more impactful and way more empowering to this Black student than what you're giving them. And I feel like a lot of times people are unqualified for the position that they're holding, and rather than giving it up, they try to keep fixing it, but still making the same mistakes over and over again because they don't want to lose their job or whatever. But I believe more in impact than intention. So the impact is way stronger. So I just think, basically, yeah, that's what I have to say. Just give it a spot.
Yeah, thank you so much, Andrea. And Reed, to your point, and then I'm coming to Sophia and Lauren.
I agree with Andrea 100%. For me personally, I was in the USD 500 district. I believe we've lost all of our Black male teachers to the KCPD area. So, and principals at that, not just our teachers. So like all of our administrators or staff and everything, we've lost them. So I personally would say, one, higher pay because they're not receiving that. Two, if you're looking at statistics and you're seeing that they are impacting our students more than a white teacher is, don't knock them down from where they are. So say they're a principal, don't knock them down to a teacher or just the assistant principal or something like that, because they are impacting these students to do better. They are, usually they create a closer bond. So they can have that student-teacher relationship, but they also have a relationship on the side that allows them, you know, if something does happen, that's the first person they can go to. And I feel like that you just shouldn't knock them down, you know?
Yeah, thank you for that. Going to Sophia and then Lauren and then Jarry and Mark, I'm coming to you next as we kind of close this out. What can other students, such as student government or other student organizations, and how can they perceive or help and be an ally towards the movement, as we witness a lot here locally in Kansas City and across our nation? But, you know, being in these spaces, and you guys have said a ton as it relates to the challenges, but what can other civic organizations and businesses as well contribute towards making this process more equitable for all?
They could show up, honestly, like when they were protesting, like I seen a lot of businesses protecting their business, but did I see you out there? And then it's like, okay, yes, everyone isn't meant to be hands-on, but what are you doing to educate yourself to bring forth like equality and bring forth justice and like help it? Like, what are you doing? Like, how can you become more involved, make a friend, just be there, be active. You don't have, ask questions. A lot of people are assuming. Ask questions. If you want to ask me a question, I'll greatly answer your question, because I want to be there to educate those who don't know.
Thank you for that. Lauren?
I feel that it's very important to have exposure and to have awareness of opportunities for people to reach out. I feel like a lot of people can sometimes feel like they have no room to speak. So, you know, a conversation like this, this is great, but I also feel like going out in the community and really like volunteering or giving your time. I feel like times like this really call for sacrifice. How Andrea was speaking about, she was saying, give up your spot. That's literally what needs to happen. Unfortunately, it's a system that is against us, but you, as a white person, you have to work against that system. So a system that's working for you, you have to work against it to then allow the right things to move. And it'll all come around full circle. But I just feel like sacrifice is kind of just where we're at right now. People have to sacrifice. You have to sacrifice how comfortable you are. You have to sacrifice how you feel. It's not about that. It's just about what's right, and just, you know, yeah, making those sacrifices, I feel like, is what is needed.
Thank you so much. This question is for Jarry and Mark, the men holding it down today. Do you believe that it would further the effort if there were cooperatives between, or a combination or relationship between school districts that allow students to access extracurricular activities that are offered right in the areas in which they live? Would that make the gap will it decrease, or will people take more advantage of those opportunities if they're right in front of them in the communities in which they operate in?
So you're saying our schools offer opportunities for us?
Yeah, so if the question was, do you believe that further efforts would be made if schools kind of had this relationship, a yin and yang or a teeter-totter, using Sophia's analogy earlier, where they served, or the services that they're offering were in closer proximity to the people that needed them the most?
Oh, most definitely. I mean, I don't really want to repeat myself so much, but that just really goes back to what I was saying, about how, smaller areas need opportunities too, whatever the opportunities may be. I feel like those people would be grateful just as long as they have them, and they will most definitely take those, and, if our schools, our school boards and superintendents, or whoever controls extracurricular activities and stuff, could get those implemented in smaller schools, big schools too, but I mean, they don't really need them that much, but especially smaller schools. Yes, I feel like youth like us will really jump at those.
Absolutely, thank you for that. Mark, do you feel, or have you encountered politics in relation to how Black people in Kansas City should, I guess, how young Black people should be here in Kansas City, especially in jobs, relations, and education? Do you think that we should put more efforts in training us? I know Lauren spoke to that earlier about job fairs. How does this fit in white-dominated spaces, or to reform these spaces to accept young Black people as we are today?
That was a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot. You can break it up.
So yes, I do think that we need to be training ourselves to be able to fit into these spaces, because oftentimes we probably don't like them because we don't fit in them and we don't see ourselves in them, and we don't know how to be a part of it. And I think that goes back to what I said earlier about how we should be teaching our kids at a younger age. So like even starting in high school, we need to be teaching them how to act, like asking the right questions and dressing appropriately, and just being able to communicate and understand the language, because it is a huge language difference between coming from the hood, I guess you could say, into a more business environment. And what else did you ask?
No, you touched on it, and I think just really, how we as young Black people should be, tailored to fit in these white spaces, or what should we do to deconstruct that narrative that people try to set, so going against the norm. But I think you answered it, unless you have anything else to add.
No, I don't.
Okay. And as we wrap up here, the last question, and I'll go around the horn for everyone, starting with Andrea. What advice do you have for Black parents raising young Black people in these times? And what can we do better, or what should we be doing better right now to make a better Kansas City for your voices and for the future voices of our city?
I just heard the first one, so I'm gonna have you go back and say the second question. But one thing that I think Black parents should always do is encourage your child to speak up. I've always been an outspoken person. Sometimes my parents it's like not right now. But I think that is what kind of separates our generation. We're not scared to speak up about the things that are bothering us. So I always think just encourage your children to speak up, and also help starting them young with the things that they need to study. Help them read things about Black people from our past, and just so they can know where they need to go, and so they can always stay motivated when fighting so many things that are oppressing us. And yeah, what was the second one?
I'm getting feed here, a bunch of questions as things are coming in, and I apologize. We do have an additional 20 minutes left, so I'm ahead of myself on schedule. I want to make sure that we've been mindful of everybody's time in the process of this. And there's a lot of questions that people are asking, but I think it was, what can we do better, Andrea? And what should we stop doing as it relates to building Black youth up here in our city?
I know one thing that we should do is not always rely on Black people to feed the answers. Always, there's so many things out there that we could use to educate ourselves. It's literally in the palm of our hand. So many people are sharing information every day. So I think it's important to do the work on your own. Like it's very cool to ask us questions, you know, to get our feedback, but it's already so much information out here. It's so many panels that we're doing right now already out there. Just do the research and do it on, and don't always rely on a tired Black person to keep feeding you the answers and reiterating the same things over and over again.
Yeah, thank you for that. Julian, this question is for you and for Lauren and Sophia. And Rhea, I'm coming to you. What do you all think about the Power and Light District, the Country Club Plaza? How do you feel about these spaces for sure? And do you feel accepted in conjunction, you know, with 18th and Vine District is predominantly our district, but how do these other spaces in our city make you feel, and do you find similarities there?
I think I know that like these spaces and places are places that Black people enjoy and places where Black people go. But I think it's also like important to realize like who the owners are and the people who are actually at the top. So with that, I think that that's very important because Black students should be given like the same opportunities as white students. And with that, with the high corporations and places like the Plaza and the people who are over it, I think that they should be able to do internships and get jobs and have those same experiences that our white counterparts are, because summers people may be working at Power and Light and it might be something that Black students don't even know about. So I think that it's good to that kind of get your name out there and to understand who the people in power are and to really try to get those connections so you can have those same opportunities as white students.
Yeah, Lauren.
How do I feel about the KC Power and Light and Plaza? That's the question, right? Okay. I feel like when I'm there and when I am around a lot of white people, and if I'm with my, you know, with my family, my people, I feel like there is this subconscious thinking of, oh, I need to act a certain way so that I don't embarrass or anything. But that right there strikes something with me, just because it's like us acting our normal, genuine selves. We have to fear that somebody's going to be offended, or we have to fear that somebody's going to take something the wrong way. So I feel like when it comes to those spaces, it's really a mind reset of every, you know, white person, store owner. It's really on them. And like they were saying earlier, like, don't keep asking us, really reflect on what you're doing and really educate yourself and really just reflect in every moment that you feel like you could do this, do the opposite and just see how it works for you, and it'll become easier. But yeah, that's how I feel about those spaces. It really just takes everybody to work on themselves individually.
Yeah, to create better space for all, unconsciously and consciously. Ree and Sophia and Jarry, this question is for you. Starting with Ree, instead for diversifying, how can Black people create their own spaces in business and media for representation? And I'll start with Ree and then Sophia.
For me personally, I am starting my own business here soon. So I feel like because Black people are taking over other people's businesses, as far as like nail salons, hair salons, you really don't see us that, like, you know, doing things that big. I just say, go for what you want, don't settle for less, and do what you have to get to where you want to be. If this is something that you like or you love, go for it. Don't let anyone tell you you can't do it. If it comes down to media, if you need help, just ask for it. Don't be afraid to ask for help. And that's something that I struggled with for a while, and I'm learning to do it myself. So, yeah.
Could you repeat the question one more time, please?
Yeah, I can. The question was, instead for diversifying, how can Black people create their own spaces in business and media for representation?
Oh, start rubbing shoulders with the right people, ask questions, get into those spaces where Black people are already thriving, get information of what they know and bring it back to what you want to do, and just go from there. Branch off from other Black entrepreneurs. Be your own boss. You know, just educate yourself and create. You want to see spaces for young Black people to learn how to dress professionally or how to do an interview. You create that space for your people. Don't rely on other races to come in and help you out when there's people already who know how to do everything pretty much that are of color that you're probably more comfortable with. Like step out of the box, step out of your comfort zone, go out there.
Thank you for that. Ree, this question is for you, Jarry and Mark, in that order. A previous question or a comment was made about companies using this opportunity to say, yes, Black Lives Matter, but then not do a thing to help the Black community in which their companies operate. What would you say to the management of a company that wants to make changes? What would be the most effective and needed changes they could make? And specifically, what would make a racist company believe that it was in their interest to actually make changes?
Okay, so I got part of it. I got part of it, but that was a lot.
Yeah. A previous comment was made about companies using the term Black Lives Matter. So when we refer to PR to practice, and some companies are not doing a thing, was in this question. So what would you say to the management of a company that wants to make changes, and what would be the most effective way to do that? I'll leave it at that.
Okay, all right. Okay, so I will say a change of heart and a second chance is always given, because that's just, it's just a thing. But to make it better, I would say hire your best, and don't be afraid to not venture out, but to give those top tier spots, so like manager, owner, stuff like that, to the people that you wouldn't really give those to. And don't discriminate against people that come into there. Don't judge by anyone's appearance or what they may seem like, but be very open-minded.
Jarry, the floor is yours.
Like Ree said, it takes a change in heart, and they have to have an open mind. And I feel like that is very hard for us as people to truly have, because we have a predisposition to be selfish. We have our own egos, we think about ourselves, and we have to companies have to open their hearts to not just to the change, but to things being different. You gotta take chances, like Ree said, opening up managerial positions for Black people or higher up positions in general, giving opportunities like that. You have to roll the dice on those things, and, you have to be genuine about those things. Like your heart has to change, and it takes more than just acting. You can't just, do things and expect people to believe that what you're doing is real. Like you have to really feel, the change that you're trying to put forth. So yeah, that's how I feel about that.
Thank you. Mark, this question is for you. For those of you who talked about the importance of experiences like job fairs, opportunities to learn interview skills, etc., are there organizations or places where you have found those things that would be useful for other young people to know about?
Okay, can I speak on that last question and then also come back to that question?
You sure can.
Okay, so I think that businesses should invest in urban communities more, and I don't mean just schooling. I also mean housing and jobs and things like that. And there was a question that has said that why should racist companies change? Why should they want to work with Black people? And I think they should, because they don't realize that they're missing a whole market. Black culture is an extremely different culture, and I think that it is extremely popular as well. And you won't ever have access to Black culture unless you start hiring Black people and investing into Black communities. So if money is on their mind, Black people, we can make you a lot of money if you let us. What was that question?
Yeah, the last question, or the last of that, are there any organizations that you know or places that helps with areas like job fairs, interviewing skills? And Lauren, you can talk to that as well, because I know you mentioned it. Are there any of you all?
Oh, for sure.
That are helping.
Oh, my bad.
Oh, you're good.
Yeah, for sure. Prep KC is definitely one of those. I've worked with them a lot of times, and they've had many programs, whether that's they've done the Business Finance Institute, where that's what kind of taught me how to act a little bit more, how to speak that business language, I guess you could say. And then they've also introduced me to different internships as well, such as the Student Law Academy, which is an internship that goes on for 3 weeks that you can feel like a lawyer. You're experiencing what a lawyer does on a daily basis. And, you know, that's just one way, I guess.
Yeah, thank you for that. Julian, this question is for you and Ree. What experiences or environments have been successful in helping you feel safer?
An organization that I've gotten a part of, BACON, Black Archives Youth Coalition Network. It's a group of Black students, and we come together every other week. And I feel like it's other people who understand me and understand some of the things that I go through. And I think that it's really important that we don't just have like these single organizations, but that we also kind of like start to create on our own. Like I envision a few years after me doing BACON for a few years that I start my own, you know, to really kind of promote things in different parts. So it's not just like there's some over here and some over here, but everywhere there's a group of students who feel like they're understood.
Ree, thank you for that.
As I said earlier, I'm a part of the Brand Lab KC, which is a marketing internship program that came here recently, I think about 3 years ago now. They are originally from Minneapolis, Minnesota. They make everyone that enters the internship program feel home, safe, and loved. That's something that we're super big on, and they make everyone feel like family. On top of that, I would say at my school, we have Black Student Union. That was one of the first like organizations that I had joined, besides GEMS, which is Gifted, Empowered, Motivated Sisters. But I really believe that those 3 programs have been my like backbone as far as feeling at home and feeling like I have a place in my community. So yeah.
Yeah, this question is for Lauren first, and Sophia, and swinging it to you, Andrea. Are you optimistic about the future of race relations here in Kansas City?
Yes, I'm optimistic. That's all I can be, is optimistic. I wanted to speak on organizations that also provide a safe space really quickly. I'm a Kauffman Scholar, Class 6, and within Kansas City, the Kauffman Foundation has not only put thousands of kids through school for free, but it also kind of just equips you with skills and just talents and knowledge to really excel. Like once you do get out here in corporate America or wherever you feel like your career is going. But just going back to your question, I really just think that focusing on kind of just moving forward, we have to be positive. There's no room to be negative. There's already things that we see on a daily basis. So the fact that people are speaking from such big platforms, like y'all were saying, companies and organizations that have never talked about Black Lives Matter are now saying it. And what that does is it kind of puts them out there like, okay, you know, you can't ignore this anymore. So this is something that it has to be a part of the conversation because you just admitted to it. So you can't go back on your word. There's no taking anything back. And I just feel that I'm very optimistic. We are a generation that's not going to be quiet, and we're going to voice our opinions, and we're going to keep this up. I feel that this country kind of takes it as serious as we do. So once they figure out that we're not going anywhere, some things are going to change.
Thank you for that.
I'm pretty optimistic about the future because we are the future, and I know that we're not gonna stop at nothing to get justice, to get peace, to get equality, and we're just gonna keep moving forward. And like someone mentioned earlier, like as our generation speaks out more. I believe it was Andrea. Our generation speaks out way more, and we're not afraid to be that forefront and to fight back. So I'm very optimistic because I know we have in store for our future.
Thank you for that. And then this is our last question, but everybody gets an opportunity to answer this as we officially close. Andrea, starting with you, if there's one thing you consider to be the most important message to get across, what would you want people to know about Black youth and Black people?
That we are here. Like, we're never going to stop fighting for what we believe in. We're never going to stop. It's always going to be stronger generations coming in, and we're the strong generation right now, the generation that's fighting so hard, and we're going to be building up the next generation, and they're going to be even better than us. So you're never going to stop hearing from us, and we will be better and get better.
Thank you. Julian?
I agree completely with Andrea. I think that we are strong. We are the change.
Mark?
We're hard workers, I'll say that. And like everybody else has said before me, we're going to speak out and we're going to speak our mind. And then also, we're here. We just need help finding you, and we're going to try to help you to find us as much as we can moving forward.
Jarry?
Yeah, I'd like to echo that. I mean, we're just going to keep on keeping on. Honestly, we're going to keep doing what we're doing, shining our light as Black people, until we not just get our voices heard, but we get actions put forth. So, yes.
Thank you, Jarry. Ree?
I would say a couple things. Look at my mind and not my color. We're going to continue to advocate for the best and not less. We're going to continue to encourage each other, uplift each other, and to speak up and out.
Sophia?
To echo everybody, the march continues. We're not stopping. We're gonna keep working hard. We're gonna keep doing what we have to do to be able to get up there and succeed and be who we want to be without being like constricted.
And last but certainly not least, Lauren?
I agree with everybody. Just to know that we Black people, we're worth it. We were worth it 20 years ago. We were worth it 100 years ago. It isn't something that's just hot and trending right now to be Black. We're worth it, and we're going to take what we deserve. Thank you.
Thank you so much to you all for being here today, sharing your truths with this conversation. It was definitely much needed. I kind of had a few tears just listening to you all because I'm so optimistic about Kansas City and our workforce and our future of our community and where we're headed. And so this has been a fantastic session. And I just want to say thank you all so much for doing this with me and allowing me to learn and share this day with you into the Kansas City community. And now we're going to turn it over to Diane Clevler, who is with the Urban Neighborhood Initiative. And I want to thank you all so much again to the Greater Kansas City Chamber business community, the members on behalf of Bank Midwest and Whitney and her team. Thank you all so much for sponsoring and having this discussion. And we look forward to the continuous work as a collective whole here in Kansas City. My name is Kiona Sinks, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Kiona, and thanks to each of our panelists. It was really wonderful to hear your stories, your experiences, your plans, and your ideas for the future. It's so important that we listen to your voices, and you're full of great ideas that are so relevant to this moment. Today, I believe that you have shown that what's happening now is really a movement and not just a moment. As we listen to our young people, we must, all of us, remember that it's not enough just to listen. We also have to take action to truly bring about racial justice. It's been nearly 2 months since the death of George Floyd at the hands of police that sparked this latest call to action. Unfortunately, he was not the first, nor, I'm afraid, will he be the last. Our listening sessions may be wrapping up, but our work has just begun. I implore everyone to reflect on what you've learned from today, last week, and the sessions before, and keep listening to determine what actions you can take. Let positive action make our community more equitable, and let that be all of our goal. We at the Urban Neighborhood Initiative continue that work. Our mission is to break the intergenerational cycle of poverty and historic racial inequities. We want all children and families to thrive. After hearing today's young people speak, I believe we'll be able to continue that work with this generation leading the way for the future. You can find out more about our work at our website, uni-kc.org. If you've been with us during the last few weeks, you know that we've talked about the past and the present. I invite you to join us next Wednesday, July 29th, for the KC Chamber's annual Power of Diversity event, as we talk about the future. Not only will the Chamber recognize people advancing diversity and inclusion in Greater Kansas City, but after the awards, there will be a special listening session to focus on where we go from here. And Congressman Emanuel Cleaver will be the keynote speaker. I've heard that name somewhere before. There's still time for you to register, and there's still so much to learn. Thank you again so much for being with us today.